Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Shaw Local Bears Insider Podcast with the Northwest Herald's Joe Aguilar. I am Chicago Bears beat reporter Michael Dwojak as we join you guys on Friday morning, a couple days before supposed to be a cold one. It's going to be the Bears versus the Browns at Soldier Field at noon. A big matchup here as the Bears are entering the final four-game stretch of the regular season. Bears currently are at the number 2 seed. So Joe, I it's been kind of the refrain in Halas Hall all week. I don't think this has the makings of a trap game because I think the Bears and Bears fans know what's at stake here on Sunday.
Yeah, it's a must. It's a must win. That's been the buzz all year. That's the title of this podcast. It has to be because then you've got Packers and you've got the Lions and you got the Niners. As we talked about earlier in the week, they're not going to be favored in any of those games. Can they win all three? Yeah, they probably won't. But this is the team. I know the Browns are good defensively. Shador's coming off a really good game, but they're 3-10. 3-10 is 3-10. You are what your record says it is, right? Whatever cliche you want to use, but that's the case come Sunday.
Yeah, it's interesting because I get that mindset obviously where you know your record is what your record is, but this is like a sneaky good Browns team that I feel like maybe wasn't managed the right way, especially in the first half with all the quarterbacks they have obviously gone through. Joe Flacco, Daniel Gabriel, and now they're on Shador Sanders, and it kind of feels like, man, if you just had like a quarterback, a guy that you kind of felt confident heading into the season with this type of defense, I think this Browns team could have won more. But I agree. Obviously, there's a reason why this Browns team is 3-10. But I don't think this podcast is taking the Browns lightly, and the Bears for sure are not taking the Browns lightly. As the Bears, it is a must-win game. There's no two ways about it. This is a game that you have to take if you want to make the playoffs. It's pretty simple as that. They've got a tough road after this. They go against the Packers, then they go to the 49ers, and then they finish things off with the Lions. So if you want to be a playoff team, if you want to get to that number 12 that the Bears have been talking about needing in order to get into the playoffs, you got to pick up number 10 here against the Browns.
Yeah, and it's at home too. And it's funny. We'll get into the matchups later, but you got a team that's, again, 3-10. They seem better than that. They've got a guy who's going to break likely the single season sack record. You got a really good draft class. To me, the interesting thing is the quarterback because, when he got his first start, this will be his fourth start in a row, Shador Sanders. The first game he comes in and he looks rattled and he looks like, oh, this is why he fell in the draft to the 5th round when he was projected by some to go in the top 15 picks or certainly in the first round. But he's played better, and a confident player in any sport is a dangerous player, right? So you couple that with the defense they can play, even their losses, like they really haven't been, they're not giving up. Even though their losses, it's not like they're giving up 40, 50 a game or anything like that.
Sure.
So knowing the Bears' offensive struggles, you should be able to throw the ball unless it's really windy at Soldier Field and on Sunday. We'll see. But you should be able to throw the ball like at Green Bay last week. And I know it was cold, but, you can play in the cold, and these guys wear gloves and stuff, and they should be able to catch the ball. We'll see.
Thank you to everyone who's joining us in the live stream. I see the chat is bopping. We got CJ, Robert, Rick all talking in the chat. Great to hear from you folks. Make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already. And if you're joining us on Facebook as well, make sure you give us a like. Really appreciate all the support. And if you're listening to this on the podcast and want to be part of the conversation, we usually talk Friday and Monday mornings after and before game day. Sometimes it changes, obviously, with the Bears or my travel schedule, but we try to keep with it. So make sure you join us as well. All right, before we get into the matchups, let's get into the latest from Halas Hall, and that's let's start off with the injury report, Joe. And it's a pretty good report given we're heading into week 15 of the season at this point. It's a pretty good report. Rome Odunze and Tyreek Stevenson both returned to practice on Thursday. They were both limited. The Bears also they held a walkthrough on Wednesday, but they both also estimated that both of those players would have practiced on Wednesday as well. So obviously, we'll see what it looks like on Friday. With their game status, at this point, I would guesstimate that they would be questionable. They might be a full go, and then they'll be questionable for Sunday. But really encouraging news, Joe, just to get two playmakers back on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, it looks like Rome's gonna be good to go. That's big. So that said, I'd like to see him get the ball. I'd like to see DJ Moore get the ball. And a lot was discussed this week about his lack of production, not only this past week against Green Bay, DJ Moore, that is, but during the season. So, considering, here we are, mid-December, injury work's pretty good. Kyler Gordon, I don't know, Michael, should they just send him home at this point and say, thanks, but go get healthy. See you in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Johnson was asked about it. When we asked him on Wednesday, it was Wednesday about it. He didn't have an update on it, but he didn't sound encouraged. He said based on what it kind of looked like after it happened, it didn't seem encouraging, especially with 4 games left in the season. It would be my guess that they probably place him on IR and the season is done. It's unfortunate because it's you never want to blame the player. Obviously, injuries happen and that kind of stuff, but they've just been such fluky injuries, and it's been weird just that the injuries have happened outside of game action, right? Like his first soft tissue injury happened during training camp. Then the second one obviously happened as he got injured, and then he re-injured it, the day before they were about to go on Monday Night Football. And then again, he had an injury pop up in the middle of the season, in the middle of practice. And then on Sunday, you get him back for a game here. And then, during warmups, another one pops up. So it's unfortunate, obviously, for the player. And it's kind of interesting, Ben was kind of asked about it. And Ben kind of said, like, I don't know the player at this point. Like, he said that he doesn't, like, I mean, Kyler's only played 3 games this season, and he said he doesn't really know the player. So that's not really a spot that Ben wants to be in, but it's not really a spot that Kyler wants to be in, right? Especially, 15, 14 weeks into the season, the whole training camp. Like, at this point, the new coach isn't a new coach, and the new players aren't the new players. So obviously the Bears gave him money over the offseason. They're going to work on rehabbing. Maybe they need to work on some things about how they're rehabbing these guys. Maybe Kyler needs to work on some stuff about how he's rehabbing. But it's definitely been a loss for this year because we saw, the first thing that Dennis Allen, or the first player that Dennis Allen talked about when he first came to Chicago, was Kyler Gordon and how excited he was. And Ben Johnson talked about Kyler Gordon when he took over. So, yeah, it's just been disappointing to see that one of your best defensive players, a player that gave money to over the offseason and are confident about as part of your future, hasn't made an impact at all season.
Yeah, we talked at the beginning of the season, in the summer about who's the best player on this team, and we were all kind of in agreement that it's Jalen Johnson. Who's the second best? It might be Kyler Gordon, right? And then the potential for him to really have a breakout year was this year. And again, this defense, even at full strength from day one, they were not going to be a top 5 defense in this league. So now you take away him, then you think, that he's been kind of teased with his health all year, that he might be close. They're going to get him back. Oh, maybe another week or 2. Now he's back, and then he gets hurt again. Real shame, because they could use him not only for what he does as a nickel, but just a bit of his ability to blitz. He can make plays, and he brings an energy to the field. And we've seen that in his first, 3 years in the league. This is his 3rd year already. And then this is like a redshirt year. I mean, we've barely seen him. Too bad.
Yeah, it just stinks for, obviously, like I said, for the player and for the team, because he's so good at, you can use him in the back, you can use him back, in coverage, you can use him on the line of scrimmage, you can use him inside, you can use him outside. Like, he's a very versatile player, which is great to have. And you're losing that Swiss Army knife that I think Dennis Allen went into the season and was kind of like, I'm sure he was excited. He's like, all right, I'm going to scheme up this type of play package, and I can think of this package, and we're going to try to run this. And they haven't really been able to do that. So, and obviously, CJ Gardner-Johnson, I feel like has done a fine job
Oh, yeah.
filling in. And I also think it kind of affects other players. Like Brisker really hasn't been allowed to kind of be used in that role like Kyler was used either, because of the other injuries like the Stevenson, Jalen Johnson, Kyler, like all those different injuries have kind of forced Jaquan to kind of be a covered safety instead of like, a safety who maybe could blitz, who maybe can go drop back in coverage. So it's an injury that's affected this team all season. So unfortunate. We'll see if they decide to make that move, or maybe there is something that happens. Obviously, we've seen players like Jalen Johnson and other guys come back sooner, but at this point, my guesstimate would be that we don't see Kyler Gordon again this season.
Yeah.
Travis Homer's also not practiced this week. He's dealing with an ankle injury. Lamine Zacchaeus has been limited with a hamstring injury. Encouraging news, Ruben Hippolyte has been a full participant this week with the shoulder injury. And this will be Tremaine Edmonds' last game that he will have to miss while he's on IR. We'll see how quickly the Bears are able to activate him. We've seen him. He's been in the locker room the last few days, so I feel like that's an encouraging news. So hopefully, Joe, at this point, knock on wood, it seems like this Bears team is actually going to be fairly healthy. Obviously they were without Dio Dangbo, Shamar Turner, some players like that, but for the most part, where most NFL teams are heading into the final 4 games of the season, I feel like this team is actually doing fairly well in health.
Yeah, they're. It's nice that they're able to get guys healthy. Now let's see. Because regardless of what happens Sunday, even if they lay an egg here and lose, you still got 3 important games left. So even if you lose, you're not out of it. You probably have to win now 2 of the 3, but you can do it. But getting guys back like Edmonds, the difference with him, at least he's played this year and he's been productive, where guys like Jalen and TJ, we've barely seen him. And then, like we saw him last week, they were like, they weren't themselves yet. We talked about it on Monday. We got to see Jalen get back to Jalen, level. He's not there yet, understandably so. He's barely played this season. So we got to get him back. So that's good. So, again, maybe that's just – the Green Bay game was still shake off the rust games. Same with TJ Edwards. But Edmonds has played. Maybe there'll be, maybe he needs a game too. But even then, okay, he still got 2 games left, and those are going to be important games regardless. With would be the Lions and the Niners. So you got to get these guys back, and because especially on defense, you're not very good. So good players who are healthy is a good thing.
Yeah, and for Jalen, I think it's still kind of clear that he's still kind of working his way back. Yeah. I mean, he's still appearing on the injury report for a reason. I think usually you don't really see that. So I do think that. Listen, he even said that he didn't think he was coming back this season. I don't think a lot of people thought that he was coming back this season after the injury that he suffered. So it's kudos to him, and I think they're being smart about it. Obviously, he's not going to look 100%, but I do think. Not that I think that, obviously Shawnee has done well back there, and Tyreek, when he's been healthy, has done bad too. But Jalen Johnson is a playmaker who can make, difference-making plays. So you're obviously good. You're obviously a better defense with them back out there. All right, Joe, the Bears and the Browns are kicking off at noon on Sunday at Soldier Field. Let's see what the latest forecast is. It's going to be cold. I do not begrudge anyone who's going to this game, who's going to be tailgating, going to be sitting out there. Right now, my forecast, it says 13. Interesting. Going to be a high of 13. Winds are going to be at 10 to 20 miles per hour. It's going to feel like 0 degrees. I saw that's supposed to be a low of 4, so I think we're going to be closer to that by game time. But a cold matchup between 2 old teams here. Joe, what is a key matchup that you'll be watching for on Sunday afternoon?
Well, I'm just going to go with Shedeur against this lackluster, non-existent pass rush, which has been the case all year. Can they get to the quarterback? And, the takeaways have been the Bears' MO. It's why they've won or stayed in a lot of these games all year, as we know. This is the game for them to rattle the young quarterback, right? Shador will probably make some great plays. He's got that ability. But can they force him into 1, 2, 3 mistakes, which I think they're going to need, because this is set up for that. I mean, I know he can be dangerous, but he's still going to have his deer in the headlight moments. I mean, my goodness, he's barely played. I mean, again, he's coming off that game, 364 yards. They lost to the Titans, but you see that, and they 364, 3 touchdowns, and I know it was against the Titans, but so that's a little concerning. But this is the quarterback you need to take advantage of, because I don't think you're going to drop 28 or 34 points on this team, especially with the inconsistencies of this offense. So rattle him. You have to rattle him. You don't necessarily have to sack him. I mean, the Bears, if they had more than 3 sacks in a game this year, I don't know, but normally it's getting like 1 or 2. We mentioned Monday, who was the last guy on the defensive line who had a sack besides Montez Sweat? But rattle him and make him make some mistakes. And at home, I think you can do that. I think that's, what do I know? I'm so bad at predicting. This is why I don't gamble, Michael. I would be broke and on a curb. I think you got to rattle him. I think that's how you're going to win the football game, and make him make multiple mistakes. And then offense, listen up, take advantage of the turnover and get some points.
Yeah, I think Dennis Allen has shown you, I guess, especially against these younger quarterbacks, Spencer Ridler, Jackson Dart, like he'll confuse you. Like even he'll confuse experienced quarterbacks as well. I think Dennis Allen, we've obviously, given him his flowers here on this podcast, but I think he's done a really good job of working with what he's been able to have on the field. And he's done different things. He sends different fronts. He confuses you. He makes you think that he's going to send one thing and then instead he sends something else. So I do agree with that. You're going to have to force Shador into mistakes. And another thing that I think is going to be key here is the Browns offensive line is very injured. I don't know if you looked at the offensive line, Joe, but they're a very injured group where I think 4 of their 5 starters did not practice this week or are out. And I'm looking for the names right now because obviously I need to verify that I'm me, so no one is trying to steal my identity here as I try to log into our system. There we go. All right. So like I was saying, like you got starting guards Joel Bettino and Wyatt Teller, and right guard Jack Conklin have all missed practice this week, while center Ethan Postage, who's a local guy from Lamont, is out for the remainder of the season with the torn Achilles. So again, you mentioned obviously forcing Shador into mistakes. I think you could do that maybe with this pass rush. I think that there's an opportunity for this pass rush to figure stuff out. It's against an offensive line that's dealing with 4 of its 5 starters who might not be playing. And I saw Tevin Jenkins, old-time Bear. He's also on the injury report, which I know some Bears fans might poke fun at that. And but he was in limited fashion as well. So I think this could be a really good opportunity for Montez Sweat, for Austin Booker, Javon Dexter up the middle, Grady Jarrett, to kind of force some pressure and force this young quarterback into mistakes, either by the schematics that Dennis Allen is able to do, but also just based on pressure. I mean, this offensive line, I know they're kind of working through some things right now, and there probably will be some starters who will be playing, but it's going to be a group, as Bears fans know, that aren't consistent with each other, and that can play a major role, especially for a young quarterback.
Well, you know who the Browns offensive line sounds like? The Bears last year, right? I mean, you mentioned Tevin Jenkins, how appropriate. I mean, I really liked him. I still like him.
He's a great guy.
Big, nasty dude. But, man, he couldn't stay healthy. And you see how it affects. There's that trickle down, the domino effect on the offensive line. And this year with the Bears, knock on wood, they've been remarkably healthy. I know they have had the issues with the left tackle, but they've been able to mask that pretty well. But, man, they've been healthy. I don't know if I would have had bet Jonah Jackson to be playing. Well, I don't think he's missed a game this year. He had injury concerns last year. Tooney, he just shows up and does his job. And, he stayed healthy. Dahlman, Darnell Wright missed the one game, but, they've been healthy, and that really matters for offensive lines, whether it's high school or college, whatever, pro, the continuity there. And now you look at the Browns team. Oh, yeah. I just had flashbacks to last season with the Bears, Michael, right? Because that was the case every week. And then we got Ryan Bates. Oh, he got hurt again. And they got this. Oh, he's hurt again. He had the Nate Davis. That was a mess. Why did I go back there? I'm getting a little pain in the back of my neck again now. But you're right. If this is an opportunity to take advantage of a young line, maybe some guys playing who aren't used to playing, they'll be on the road.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see just how they're able to affect. And I wonder whether, Dennis Allen is able to, mix some stuff up, move some guys around. I know he's pretty limited at this point with the defensive line, with being able to move guys around and confuse opponents. But you got to get after Shedeur. Shedeur has great feet. He'll be able to get out of some mistakes. He'll be able to get out of a sack or two. You saw that against the Tennessee Titans. But does he make some mistakes on the throw? That's going to be a major key into making sure that this defense doesn't really go off, because he can complete the long pass. He threw for 364, I think it was, or something like that. So he can throw it out, and he's got targets to throw to. So it'll be really important for the Bears to force a young quarterback like that into mistakes. All right, Joe, my main matchup is, obviously, you just got to figure out something to do with Myles Garrett. I mean, it's just, I don't know what you do at this point. Ben Johnson talked about it. Declan Doyle talked about it. Teams double team him. That doesn't really work. Sometimes maybe you double team him and chip him, and that doesn't work. I'm really interested to see how the Bears are going to affect him. Myles Garrett currently has 20 sacks. That obviously leads the NFL. He's 2.5 sacks away from tying the single season record that TJ Watt and Michael Strahan have. Obviously 3 sacks would get him to the record. So the Bears are obviously trying to avoid history. And if there's going to be the problem with Myles Garrett is, and I don't have to tell anyone who's watched Myles Garrett, he's just a phenomenal athlete. He just pushes tackles back into the quarterback. That's just what he does. God forbid you get a one-on-one matchup. Like, that's just, good luck to you. Just got to get the ball away. So I am really interested to see how the Bears approach this. I thought their plan for Micah Parsons last week was okay. I think Micah Parsons still affected the game a lot last week. I know it didn't show up on, I saw a lot of Bears fans, and I don't know whether it was facetious or not, where they were just like, well, he only had 1 quarterback hit, or whatever it was, 2 quarterback hits. And I was like, if you watch the game, he was all over the place. Like, what are you talking? Like, he was, sure, he only had 2 quarterback hits, but he was forcing Caleb to throw the ball away a lot, or to scramble. So obviously I'm interested to see what that matchup is going to look like. How do they stop him? And how do they protect Ozzie? Because I think Ozzie has done a fine job. I feel like he's still getting mismatched, as you would expect for a rookie. So I'm really interested to see, do you see a lot of jumbo packages with, Theo Benedict, being eligible, and you put him on the left side, and then you put Cole Kmet on the left side. But then are you over putting guys on one side and then Myles Garrett switches sides? It'll be a really interesting chess match just to see how the Bears try to protect Caleb from Myles Garrett from making history on Sunday.
Yeah, Garrett, if you look at his game logs, I mean, he's had a 5-sack game this season, a 4-sack game, a 3-sack game. So, like a lot of great players, they can suddenly just go off and just start affecting every single play. Now, the last 2 games, he's had 1 sack each. If the Bears do that like they did with Micah Parsons holding the 1, okay. But you're right. Micah Parsons, if you watch, the thing is, Michael, too, because the fans, and I'm guilty of this too, you're just looking at the ball. You're looking at the quarterback, the receivers, who's open, the guy running the ball. But you don't see the penetration early that, okay, you thought you were going to have 3 seconds, 4 seconds to throw here. You got 2 now because he's already penetrated the interior of your line, or has gotten around your outside tackle. So that's the thing. Excuse me. And that's what Myles Garrett does. But they got a good defense here besides Garrett. I mean, they've gotten, I mean, this rookie draft class, I know it's the Cleveland Browns, they don't get a lot of talk nationally or whatever. But this draft class is really good. The linebacker who they picked, the first pick in the 2nd round, Carson Swessinger out of UCLA, leads them in tackles. Guy's a tackling machine. He did it at UCLA last year. He's a good player. They've got a really good production out of him. We haven't even talked about Quinshon Judkins, the Ohio State kid, who's had a really nice season for them. Didn't run the ball a lot last week, maybe because Shador was running the ball a little more. But Garrett, yeah, I mean, you're not going to say at the end of the game, well, I didn't even notice him on the field today. He's going to be noticeable. And it comes down to the quarterback again to make good decisions and be careful, like with the TJ Watt. I don't just think you can do one of your escape acts and then throw a pass down the field 20 yards for a first down. Be very careful with him. And Caleb, again, the sacks are way down this year. He's done. I mean, I don't know if that gets talked enough about with, how many sacks, he was a part of, how many times he was sacked last season compared to this year. It's really done. I know you've written about it. So he's done a good job with that. I just don't want to see, you know what I'm tired of, Michael? I'm tired of watching him scramble, elude pressure, race outside, and then throw one 10 rows deep because there's no play. I'm just tired of watching that. I just want to see him sit in the pocket on time, bang, hit guys, and hopefully guys get open because when you start doing that, I know he's crazy good. He makes the highlight films, and we all go crazy when Caleb makes one of those crazy spin moves or bounces off a tackler, avoids a sack, and then throws one downfield for a first down. I mean, that's exciting to see, but for crying out loud, can we get some just like drop back in the pocket, boom, get the ball out and move it downfield. And don't forget about the run game, which has been outstanding, for the last 10 games, whatever it's meant.
Yeah, and CJ's kind of hitting at that point. You run at Garrett, see what happens. That's how you avoid Myles Garrett. You just run the ball, right? Like, I mean, at that point, and I know he's obviously a good he can stop the run as well. But for me, it just kind of feels like a game where I know we want the quarterback to throw for 400 yards and we want him to have 5 touchdowns and no interceptions in the game. But given the forecast and everything, doesn't this just feel like, given the matchup against Myles Garrett, isn't this just a game where you use your 2 running backs and just run down the ball? I mean, you saw how efficient they were against Philadelphia, and you saw in the second half what they can do against the Packers if they just set the line and they just kind of move it down and get their 2 running backs going. That just seems to be like the easiest solution to me. And then once you do that, then maybe that opens up the pass. Maybe you're able to throw around a little bit. But to me, I agree, Joe and CJ. I just think you run the ball at this point. That's how you kind of figure it. That's how you avoid sacks. That's how I don't know. It's also going to be like below 10 degrees, or under 10 degrees. So it just feels like an easy solution to me, where it's like, I know everyone is like, new NFL, we got to do throw for 500 yards, but this feels like a game to me where you just got to go old school and just run the ball and just take time off the clock and make it go as fast as possible.
Yeah, and I think at this point, you're 13 games in, 4 left. I just starting to think, the flaws we see with Caleb with hanging on the ball, the inaccuracy on deep balls, on short balls. I don't know if that's going to get fixed in the next 4 weeks. If that's going to get fixed ever, it's going to have to come in the off season, and then maybe sometime next year. I'm starting to realize I'm tired of hey, the 300-yard game, it's coming, man. It's coming. I don't think it's going to happen. He might, but I'm just tired of waiting on it or looking forward to that and now the thing is too, now you're in a playoff race. I mean, if you were, 4-9 instead of 9-4, maybe you say, well, you know what? It's all about next year anyway. Let's figure this out. These are 4 games that we can look at as opportunities to work out some kinks and just work on that stuff. Who cares if we win or lose? Well, now it does matter if you win or lose. So you got to win football games. That's the focus, right? It's got to be the focus of everyone at Halas Hall. I'm sure it is. And for the fans too, it's like, you're going to make the playoffs as long as you don't get in your own way. You should do it, but how are you going to do it? It's go to your strength. I mean, the running attack. I'd rather see him throw for 352, but man, the running game has just been outstanding. Who saw this coming at the beginning of the season? It's a credit to those guys, Monungai and Swift and Caleb and the O-line. and Ben Johnson and Declan Doyle. It's old school, and I'm old school. I'm old, but at this point, win football games. You know how to win football games is with your running game.
All right, Joe, let's move on to our surprise predictions. What is your surprise prediction for Sunday afternoon?
Surprise. I'm always bad at this, Michael. We saw it last week with little trickery, and then Theo Benedict got blocked illegally. Maybe he would have had it. Do we have a trick play in store this week? We've not had the tackle catch the touchdown pass this year. I'm going to go with that. Maybe it's Darnell Wright. I picked that early in the year and I was wrong. Maybe it's Benedict. Maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's, Luke Newton's a guard. So it probably have to be one of your tackles. But I'm going to say O-line. We're due for an O-line touchdown catch, aren't we?
I think we are due. We are due for it, and I think obviously, Ben wanted to get that in there. I don't know if he wanted to get the tape out there just so that they have to defend it and that kind of stuff. And they kind of, it's one of those things where I put that on tape, teams can defend it, but now it's kind of like, well, now teams have to think about that and how are they going to defend it? This is a possibility. So, but I could see that. I mean, I'm curious whether it's too close to last week, so maybe it would be a surprise. So, I like that prediction. I think that'll be a good one. My surprise prediction will be that the Bears score on their first. I'm debating whether to say 2 or 3. Since it's a surprise, I'll say 3. Just to kind of since it's a surprise or whatever. But obviously, the Bears have struggled with scoring on their opening possession. That I had in my story yesterday. They have scored on 5 of their 13 opening possessions. They've scored 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals. It feels like that just feels like something that they're going to want to emphasize and something they need to do, quite honestly. Like the early game stuff has been a big focus this week. And I think it's been a big focus because it just puts the Bears in these situations where they have to come back to win, right? Like if you just score a field goal or even a touchdown in the first half against the Packers, that's a much different game, and you don't have to do as many heroic things as you did against the Packers, right? And it's been the same story all year, where it's like, well, the Bears had to come back against this bad team because they didn't take care of business in the first half, right? So I think the Bears score 3 times on their first 3 possessions, whether that be 3 field goals, whether that be 3 touchdowns. I can't tell you what it's going to look like, but I do think that's going to be a major emphasis for this offense this week, getting into a rhythm early on. So that'll be my surprise prediction. I think we see 3 scores on the first 3 Bears possessions.
Wow. Well, that would be a surprise. Let's hope it's not 9-0 only after those first 3 possessions. Actually, Michael, I think the first 2 games of the season, didn't they score on their first drives to the game? Right, which we never saw last year. Remember that? Gosh, last year they were awful all season, but especially in the first half, they were always like, now they're down 17 at halftime. I guess it's time to rake the leaves now because this one's over. They were always getting down early because they couldn't score. In particular, couldn't get off the field, couldn't do anything right. But this year, then they started well, and they've had some series where would you say it's only 3 or 4 times this year where they've scored on their opening possession?
3 times, 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals.
Yeah, wow. Because I think it seems like they've had other good drives, but then they stall.
Yeah.
But that would be nice, especially against this defense, right? Kind of, put your foot in the ground early. Because if you do that, man, you never take anyone for granted. We've seen too many wild, wacky games in the NFL this season. My goodness, another one last night with the Bucks losing a 14-point lead to the Falcons. I mean, so that stuff happens as we talk about every week because it happens every week. But if you can get off to a good start with the offense, then it would really bode well because now then maybe you could force the young quarterback into plays where he's got to throw, he's got to try to make a play, and that could lead to problems. So that would be a nice one.
Robert brings up an interesting point, and we'll get to our most valuable Bear. Seems to be it's Ben Johnson's play calling early on that's hindering us. I am curious to know your thoughts about that, Joe, because I do feel like there are a lot of times where I think we talk about Ben Johnson doing a good job of like adjusting at halftime. I think you see a lot of great, I think he's done a really good job adjusting, whether it's within a game, whether it's within a season, right? Like I think he's done a good job of taking responsibility and kind of learning from that. But I do wonder whether is whether you think, is it the play calling? Is it the quarterback? Like, what do you feel like is the reason for these slow starts?
I think it's the quarterback. The quarterback not being accurate. I think they want to give Caleb it's like, okay, you're on the first tee. We're gonna have a great round today, and then you hit 2 on a bound. It's like you want, like, I believe in you. You can do this. Let's do it. Let's get off to a good start. You're the man. You're the quarterback. You're the first pick in the 2024 draft. Let's do it. And then he throws high, and then he throws low, and then he scrambles and he throws one into the third row of the stands. So it's like, dang it, maybe we should have just run the ball because we can run the ball. But I think it's maybe Ben, like it's a fine line, right? You want to show confidence in the quarterback because ultimately, if they ever get to a Super Bowl, if they're ever like Super Bowl caliber a team that's a legit contender, you're going to have this passing game be a lot better than it is now. We know that. Ben Johnson knows that. He said it last week that they got to get better. They've been winning in spite of the passing game. So I think he's just having a little too much trust in Caleb. Maybe he wants to get him off to a hot start and see if he can carry that through 4 quarters. But I think it's more of that because there are times when he misses his throws. I'm like, you only needed 4 yards. Just give it to Swift. I mean, you're going to get it. But they want to make a statement, and just it hasn't worked. So I don't know. The boy genius, the creative Ben Johnson, he's probably got a lot of wheels spinning, and maybe just feels like we can do this. And this should work. And then the quarterback doesn't execute a throw.
Yeah, I think CJ brings up a good point. Players are schemed open. He's missing a lot. I saw a statistic or heard a statistic where, forgive me, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I think the Bears wide receivers, whether it's Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Luther Burden, and the tight ends, are like they're at the top of the league when it comes to like separation and kind of getting open. So it does seem to be kind of like a Caleb thing. So I do wonder whether that's something that Caleb needs to address over the offseason, about maybe his warm-up needs to change or what have you. Like, obviously everyone does whatever works for them. Obviously we've seen the whole Caleb throwing the ball against the wall before the game and all this sort of stuff. And I'm not saying that that's the reason why it's not working. I'm just saying you got to look at everything, right, when it's not working for you. So I am curious to see what that kind of looks like moving forward. CJ's surprise prediction is 2 touchdowns by both backs on Sunday. I could see that happening. Caleb, Rick saying that Caleb gets to his first 300-yard game in the cold. That would be impressive, especially given the circumstances. All right, Joe, let's get to our most valuable Bear here. You chose Nahshon Wright last week. I went with DeAndre Swift. Nahshon, it seemed like the one game this season where he wasn't really bad for you, but I feel like it was kind of a game where he didn't make an impact. So I went with DeAndre Swift, and DeAndre Swift's 63 yards got me the win. It was an ugly win. I wouldn't say it was a masterclass performance by me by any means. It just was one of those. It was an okay one, but I'll take the win. I'm not going to complain about a win here. What are we now? The Bears are 9-4, 13 games into the season. I've got a 9-2. What is the math there? I got 9-4. I got a 9-4 lead there. At most valuable Bear. So we need a comeback from you here, Joe. So let's get your most valuable Bear prediction.
Well, just comment on last week. DeAndre had a good game. He just didn't get the ball out. His yards per carry were good. He was fine. And then Nahshon, he would have had that interception if the receiver's kid, Melton, didn't really make a nice play and grab him, because that ball would have been picked. So he took the pass interference call. It was a good play by the Packers receiver. So, but Nahshon would have had a pick there, but so be it. But he did. Another game for him, though, where it's like he was good. I mean, you're not giving up big plays, and I thought he was fine. So for this week, I got to go back to the secondary, because I think Again, this is how they win games. I don't think it's a fluke at this point with the takeaways. Maybe next year, you know what? Maybe next year they're not intercepting the ball at all, and maybe they're winning another way, because that happens, as you know, sometimes in the league. What works one year, for whatever reasons, a variety of reasons, doesn't translate to the next year. But I think Kevin Byard, the young Kevin Byard, at 32, 33 years of age, whatever he is now, the old man of the secondary, I think he finds another way to get yet another interception and add to his league-leading total. So I'm going to go with Byard because I think we've seen it before. I think this is ripe for him, as long as he can keep up, because he can't run like a lot of us. He can't run like he did when he was younger. But the savvy veteran, Kevin Byard, I'll go with him.
I like that prediction. It's a fair prediction. I think, when he's averaging close to an interception a game, or I don't know exactly what it is, but it feels like he's averaging an interception a game. I like that pick. I'm debating between, I think I'm going to go with the storyline. I feel like that always helps. I don't want to. I'm not burning my Caleb pick here yet. We each have one left this season, and these aren't the circumstances for a Caleb pick. I don't feel like so. But I am going to go with. I'm going with DJ Moore. The storylines this week has been, where's DJ Moore? What happened to him? Why does DJ Moore and Caleb Williams hate each other? Why are they enemies? Why are they constantly fighting and all that kind of stuff, as Bears Twitter can be? Obviously, I'm being facetious, and that's not true at all. But I think Ben is going to focus on DJ Moore this week. I think Rome Odunze's back out there. I think the Browns are obviously going to focus on him. And this is a circumstance where DJ Moore thrives, right? Like it feels like a moment where do a quick end around, throw a short screen to him, get him involved where you don't have to air it out. So I think this feels like a good opportunity for DJ Moore to make an impact. I saw Rick chiming in. He's got Montez Sweat. That feels like a tempting pick, especially with all the offensive line issues that they're having. And I don't hate that idea at all, but I'm going to go with DJ Moore. I think this feels like a good game for him to make an impact. And I think we know at this point that Ben likes to make a point. He doesn't say it explicitly, but he likes to make it a point with his targets and who he gets involved early in games.
That would be nice. And we've forgotten what a good football player he is. And I want to see more DJ Moore. I don't want to see him get 3 handoffs, and a swing, a screen pass. Get him the ball downfield, because again, he's like Luther. You noticed that last week, Luther Burden. He's got that yak ability. Catch the football, 2 guys on him, makes a guy miss, drags 2 guys with them. DJ's got that. For us, you've been around him. DJ Moore's not the biggest dude. I mean, he's sculpted like a lot of these receivers, and DBs. But he's not, he's not AJ Brown or anything like that, when it comes to physical or, height and stuff. So, but I said it 100 times. I like him. Get him the ball. That was an embarrassment last week that he was so non-used. It's not a really good way to phrase that, Mr. Journalist. Just wasn't involved enough in the offense. I think you got to get him the ball. That would be very nice. And like you said, Ben, some kind of hints toward what they might be working on for the next week, the next game. I think that would be a good one.
I think it's also key. Like, I feel like people might say, it's DJ Moore. Like, what is he doing? Like, Ben has never criticized DJ. And obviously we know that Ben Johnson, like, he's not afraid to criticize players when they're not performing well, right? Like, he'll be honest with you, and he's been blunt with the media, and I think he's blunt with the players. But anytime he's asked about it, like, Ben will say, nope, DJ ran the routes right. I'm surprised that he didn't end up with more catches. Like, it doesn't seem to be a DJ problem at this point. It doesn't seem that he's doing the wrong routes. And I mean, if you still look at it, he's second on the team with targets. So I just think it comes down to the quarterback, right? Like, just making the plays, getting the ball to his wide receivers, to his playmakers. And I think, listen, it's not groundbreaking. Get the ball into DJ Moore's hands, and a majority of the times it's going to be really good stuff. So I think that's something that the Bears need to focus on this week. Robert chiming in. He's got DJ as his MVP. Rick going with Montez Sweat. Like I said, Triple R saying Tevin Jenkins revenge game. We'll see if he'll play in the game. Robert also saying that Javon Dexter needs to start showing up. This would be a good opportunity for him to do so. All right, Joe, noon on Sunday at the Lakefront. It is a Fox game. And potentially could be the last noon game of the season. Bears play at Saturday night, next Saturday against the Packers, and they play Sunday night against the 49ers. We'll see what that Week 18 matchup will be against the Lions, but I would imagine if it's for the division or even a playoff spot, they'll probably put that game, I would assume, even like in the late afternoon window, if not, Sunday Night Football. I know there's Week 18. I think Week 18 also has the Steelers and the Ravens. So that could be an interesting Sunday Night Football matchup as well. But, Joe, what happens? What is your prediction for Sunday afternoon?
Well, I'm so bad at predicting. I probably should just pick the Browns because that would probably guarantee Bears victory. But I got to go with the Bears here. You got to go with the Bears. They're not going to drop 40. I don't think they'll drop 30 on this defense. But I think they win. I'll go 24-20. How about that?
That sounds right. The Bears win this game. I don't think this is a trap game. They have treated this game as, like, Ben Johnson has done a good job of just treating this like this is not a trap game. I know the Packers are coming up in Week 16. Obviously, that'll be a short week, so that'll be a quick turnaround. These teams these players know what to expect. They have, talked about how great the Browns are. They've talked about how they have different playmakers, all that kind of stuff. I don't think that this is going to be a trap game. I think the Bears set the tone early. I think they realize the realization is that I think I said 12 games. I think 11 games is what gets you into the playoffs here. And I think the Bears know this is a must-win game, and if they want to get there. Obviously, things happen in the NFL every single week. The Packers lost to the Browns. This is a spunky team that can, that can perform well. Like the Browns are used to this type of weather. I don't think they're going to be caught off guard by any means. But I do think the Bears are prepared for this matchup. I think the coaching staff does a good job of preparing them for this matchup. I have the Bears winning. I'll do 27-20. I think that I think the spread is 6.5 for the Bears. That sounds right to me. I think Shador maybe gives the Browns a chance late, and he'll try to kind of bring them back. But this just feels like a game where the Bears aren't falling for the trap. They're not treating this lightly. They're not looking at the Browns lightly. And this feels like a game where the Bears just kind of take care of business.
Yeah, and you can't let the 144th pick, Shador, beat the number 1 pick from last year. I mean, you can't have this. And I don't even want to – I've already thought about it. The conversation we're going to have Monday and what Bears Nation – will be saying or thinking on Sunday night if the Bears lose this game. Because, oh boy, if they lose to this team, now you're reeling in a way, 2 losses in a row. You got 3 heavyweights coming up. It's not going to be good. So figure it out. They know. I mean, I don't know about the guys at the very top offices in Halas Hall, but the guys, the coaching staff, the players, they're smart. They get it, like you said, Michael. And it's just a matter now. Can you, like any, you could have the right mindset all the time, but it doesn't guarantee you're going to execute. So they have to execute. The quarterbacks got to play well. That's it. Got to play well, and they got to figure out a way to get in the head of Shador Sanders, or just get him to the ground and make him look like a rookie quarterback. That shouldn't be that big of a task. Again, that's for as great as this team has been defensively, the Browns with Garrett and Schlesinger, and they got Mason Graham, the kid, 5th pick, and they got some players, but they're 3-10. 3-10. You got them at home, and a game that you need to have. You should win this football game.
Rick chiming in, Bears winning 31-13.
Rick.
TJ's got Bears winning 21-17. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, I saw a second. CJ one. And listen, you got to keep up with what's going on in the NFL, like in this race right now. Like the Rams are going against the Lions, so that's going to be a big game. The number 1 seed Rams trying to, for Detroit, that kind of feels like, obviously I don't think they're going to be eliminated, but if Detroit gets to 8-6, and only has 3 more games to go. That's going to be a tough, like, again, if they lose to the Rams, that week 18 matchup against the Bears is going to be huge. But
Mhm.
other than that, all the other teams, and obviously the Packers and the Broncos is going to be huge. The Bears, again, have an opportunity where they could be the number 1 seed or at least the number 2 seed in the NFC race if they take care of business and the Packers lose against the Broncos. But Eagles go against the Raiders. You got the 49ers going against the Titans. You got the Cowboys going against the Vikings. There are some key matchups where things can kind of get moved around, but the other teams in the NFC have pretty favorable matchups like the Bears do. So this is a game where you kind of need to keep up here, Joe, because listen, a loss or two at this point, like that could really be detrimental to getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you look 2 weeks ago after the Philly game, they were the top seed in the NFL. Then they they lose a 1 touchdown game to the Packers and they drop like 6 slots. So it's just one of those years, which is good. Because again, there's not going to be, even if the Bears get back to winning Sunday, they beat the Niners, they beat the Packers. Then you're talking about like seed position, which will still be important. So regardless of how Detroit fares here in the next 2-3 weeks, the rest of these games are all going to be meaningful for the Bears.
They definitely will be. It's fun to be in this. It's fun in December to talk about not the Bears game blown out. It's fun to talk about.
Right.
It's fun not to look at mock drafts or
Right.
Seeding or be like, let's lose out so we can get the number 5 seed or the number 5 pick in the draft. Like, it's fun that the Bears are in this position. And the Bears know that. They know that they've got to, in order to get into the playoffs, they got to win as many games as possible. They got to stack wins because that's what it's going to take, and they're going to have to do that starting on Sunday against a Browns team that is very gettable. All right, guys, that's everything that we've got for this Friday morning. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us on the YouTube live stream. Appreciate all the comments, guys. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe if you're watching this later on YouTube. Thanks so much for joining us there. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe. On Facebook, thanks so much for everyone who joined us. I appreciate all the love and likes we've got in there. Thanks so much for joining us, and make sure you like the podcast. And if you're listening on the podcast a little bit later, make sure you like and subscribe us there. And if you want to be part of the conversation, we usually talk Friday and Monday mornings before and after games. So check out our social medias. Joe is at Joe Aguilar 64. I'm at Dwojak 94. We'll usually post about when we're going to go live. We'll join you guys on Monday. We'll see what the schedule kind of looks like because it's going to be a short week against the Packers. So Bears are going to be packing things in. So we'll talk to you folks on Monday, but we'll let you know what time we'll be doing that podcast. But make sure you guys enjoy the weekend. Stay warm. Drink a lot of hot chocolate if you're going outside. If you are going to the Bears game, good luck to you. Make sure you warm up really well. Enjoy the weekend, and we will talk to you folks on Monday.